Hey y'all, it's Marianne Pack. We're continuing, this is the third video on the series of 20 things that rich people do on a daily basis versus what the poor do. And we're going to jump right in, and we're going to start with number 11. 6% of wealthy say what's on their mind versus 69% for poor. Wow. That kind of lets you know how much the rich speak their mind and give an opinion versus how much the poor want to rattle and just talk and talk and talk. It kind of reminds me of those little funnies that talk about, if you open your mouth and you say something stupid, you'll just confirm it to the world instead of keeping silent. And the other thing that I always remember my mother saying, if you can't say something kind, don't say anything at all. So let's be careful that we choose our words carefully and our timing carefully, because not everything needs to be discussed, and not everything do we need to open ourselves up for conflict, and sometimes keeping a quiet mouth rather than opening yourself up for conflict. And because most of the time when you're discussing things, if someone has a differing opinion, so many times you're not going to change their mind, and it's just going to be an open conflict, and there's no need for that. So a lot of times we just have to keep our mouth closed and go on and enjoy the peace instead. Number 12. 79% of wealthy network 5 hours or more each month versus 16% for poor. It's that connection with others, and that when you connect with others and you network, you're gonna be attracted to the people who are like-minded and who typically have similar goals and want similar things in life, but then individualized. So when you gain that mastermind group, or that group of friends, or that networking, that energy is so much more powerful than you standing alone. So don't be afraid to network. Don't be afraid to tell people what you're doing, and you might be very surprised to see that others are in the same boat with you. And when you make that connection, you will be amazed at the energy and the power behind the energy when you get those like-minded folks together. Number 13, 67% of wealthy watch 1 hour or less of TV every day versus 23% of poor. When I was raising my sons, they're now 27 and 25, we chose not to have TV in the home anymore, and we turned it off when my oldest was about 6. And really, we didn't have TV for the rest of their life, and that was very important to me for their development, because they were always active in doing something else, whether they were, during their homeschooling hours, they were studying, or we also raised them on a working farm, and there was always activities. They had friends. We had 4-H groups that we were involved in, and classes that we would take. So there was always something going on. We didn't need that TV. And when you look at some of the studies on the brain activity while you're watching TV, remember the study that I talked about with the amusement? When you are enjoying an amusement, that's all good and fine, but amuse means to stop thinking. So when you are involved in an amusement, as in TV, you are actually not thinking. And during that time, your brain, though, is still accepting subliminal messages and subconscious messages. So you have to be very careful with what your amusements are, and how much TV you watch, and what kind of TV you watch. So if you want to be wealthy, you're going to cut that back to less than an hour a day. Number 14, 6% of wealthy watch reality TV versus 78% of poor. Wow. They are not watching things that supposedly are real life. And yet the poor just clamor to it. And is that because the poor are wanting to live their life vicariously through those characters? I don't know. Something to ponder. Number 15, 44% of wealthy wake up 3 hours before work starts versus 3% for poor. Wow, when we can get up 3 hours prior, that's when we can do our meditation, our visualization. That's when we listen to audios. That's when we might sit down and read a book for 30, 45 minutes. That's when we will exercise. There's so much to be done before that workday begins, and we all need to advance ourselves in that way. Number 16, 74% of wealthy people teach good daily success habits to their children versus 1% for poor. Teaching our children and those little ones that we touch to develop good work habits. Amazing. Think about those things. Invest in yourself. Books and audios. Remember, learn, do, and teach. We'll talk to you in the next video.